Today, we are learning from friends and neighbors from the region. They are Chris and Andy Baldwin and Mike Maleska. Together, they host the Views Are Mine podcast, which is on YouTube, which you can look up after this. And Mike and Chris spent their career in mining in different facets of the mining industry. And Andy is a science teacher and communicator and passionate about science communication. And they have firsthand knowledge of what has gone on in the mines in this region. And we are excited to welcome them today to Tuesday Group.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Microphone. Okay. Are all the other mics working and hot? Cool. Thank you for that introduction. All right. My name is Andy.
I'm Chris.
I'll introduce you guys in a second. We drove up here from Hibbing, and I just want to explain our title today. I was trying to think of something provocative, and
You did.
yeah, so we're talking about extraction, extortion, and exheredation. Our economy in this area has been limited to an extractive economy. We've experienced decades of what can only be described as extortion to keep it that way. And exheredation refers to giving away the inheritance in two ways. Both the inheritance of everything good about this area. We're stealing it from our future generations, but also we've seen all of the companies that have been responsible for the first two, the extortion and extraction, have given away their inheritance of the cleanup and the legacy. So let's click the slide. Got it?
I do this.
Yeah.
Which way does it go?
Next.
Oh, okay. I see it. What's that? Oh, I got you. It's got to be last. So
And ready for it?
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Oh no.
Now we're on.
Okay. I'm gonna go over here now. So now I'm going to introduce ourselves. My name's Andy, and this is my dad, Chris Baldwin. And over there, hiding in the corner is Mike Maleska. So we've all come up here from Hibbing, the heart of the Iron Range. Let's click to the next slide here, and I'm going
Let's see
to
if this
awkwardly pass this microphone over to Mr. Mike Maleska. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks. We like to start with a land acknowledgement, and it reads like this: to the original inhabitants of this good earth upon which we now stand, we honor your love and respect for the gifts of the Creator. We honor the Sioux, Dakota, Anishinaabe, and all of the peoples who have cared for Mother Earth since the beginning, as they've stewarded this land as best as could have been imagined, and we hold them in reverence. And we remember now that the treaties that we need to honor were made with the intention that we would all share this land. With no further ado, I'm going to send around two very important pieces of information here. The plastic laminated card is the QR code to get onto YouTube, where you can watch our podcast. I apologize ahead of time, they're pretty damn long. The other multi-page document is the data that came from the mines that submitted water samples for the last 50 plus years and submitted them. They took these every month and diligently put the sample data into the MPCA. Where it went from there, we have no idea. Maybe someday we'll know. But take a picture of the front page of the document here if you'd like, and take a picture of the QR code if you'd like, and you can dig into this stuff yourself. Here it comes.
By the time it gets to you, we'll probably have talked about it finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. I lost
your battery died.
it. Might have, but
You
we have
pressed
the
the
other
wrong
mic?
button.
I might have touched something.
Yeah. Back up, Mike.
Oh,
Oh,
let me see something.
oh, did you hit the mute button? Try hitting the mute button.
No, I think it's working.
Okay, it doesn't work.
All right. Testing.
Thank you.
No, it went off.
Oh, here, use this one.
Is that working?
No, it is, you use this one.
Okay.
My name's Chris Baldwin. I'm a retired mining engineer, and I've been involved in mining since I was 12 years old. Not as a coal picker in Pennsylvania, but just my interest in extractive resources. And I think I'll start with my graduation from the Colorado School of Mines got me a job underground. And what's that? That better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll start over. Anyway, I graduated from the Colorado School of Mines. I went to the University of Minnesota and they didn't like that, so I had to go somewhere else. And I got a job underground in New Mexico in the uranium mines. I thought that was the most glamorous thing I could think of. I have a cough now. But in the 80s, everything kind of hit the skids, and I worked as a plant engineer building a couple of factories in Denver, and eventually wound up on Iron Range in the taconite mines, where I spent 23 years as an engineer and a mine manager for U.S. Steel. And that's a picture of me standing next to a D11 that I had to own that because it cost an extra truckload of fuel a week to make it work. But I did a lot. Let me go to the next page here. So part of my inspiration for understanding about the environment came from this lady, Betty Willard. She was a alpine biologist that was one of the first people to announce about global warming that she saw happening in the alpine biology. And so her famous remark was, I had to come to the Colorado School of Mines to where the problem always starts with you people, right? So she was there to train engineers to try to figure out how to do things responsibly.
Love her.
Still working. Okay. The Breaker Boys in Pennsylvania, I'm not sure about that, but I think that some aspect of what we're dealing with is relatable to the collapse of the I-35W bridge. And the reason I put that in there was that lots of times we look at something and it doesn't register. It doesn't compute. It just passes through our brain and we just accept it as a normal daily function. Just as the gusset plates were photographed and it looks like every other bridge and there's nothing going to happen here. I'll just invite you to kind of open your mind for a minute and experience where I went through a conversion too.
Can I explain the Breaker Boys real quick?
Yeah.
You had added that slide a while ago because it was to emphasize that everything that we do now in mining is as a result of lessons learned through loss.
I forgot.
Yeah, all of the safety regulations and guidelines are written in blood. And certainly beyond that, what we've got out of mining has been what's the term? In opposition to the will of the company, because the Breaker Boys are essentially the first example in America of child labor. So that represents that we've had to fight for our rights to not be extorted and have value extracted from us like that.
That's a good point. I forgot why. It's been too long.
It's okay.
All right. Let's see if I push the button there. So after my taconite career, I decided that it would be a good idea to work in a gold mine. And so I got recruited to work as a technical services superintendent at Hale Gold Mine in South Carolina. And most people wouldn't associate gold mining with South Carolina. doesn't make any sense, right? But that was the site of the first gold rush in America. And so that's where the stampeders and prospectors swarmed over the whole area from Virginia down to Georgia looking for gold. That lasted basically until 1849 when everybody went to California and then up to Alaska and et cetera. So here's some pictures from the Hale gold mine. Let's see. One remarkable part of my job there was to help get a permit. So we didn't have anything until we started with the mine plan. And it turns out the Corps of Engineers in Charleston were just mostly busy with dredging the canal, and they didn't have time for us. So we went through a real shift in understanding about how to get a permit. And I think we're probably on the world's record for getting a permit at least in the United States in about 3 years. And I can tell you how to get a permit now if you want one. But basically, the gold mine operates with cyanide, and so everybody's scared of cyanide, right? That's how you put people down, right? And so how do you convince the public that you're an authentic custodian of safety of handling cyanide and the process of sulfide minerals? So this was a big public relations issue to get the public to understand and believe that we were doing a competent job. After we got our permit, everything was going fine until a new company bought us from Australia, and immediately, not quite immediately, but started to run into some issues, right? Because it's a mine, things happen. That's how it works. One of the things we ran into was there were a lot of really hard minerals there that required extra blasting, and so all this had to be learned because it was a startup. Part of the issues were the new company that was from Australia didn't understand the weather patterns that would come up from the Gulf, and we'd get these atmospheric rivers, and they were just torrential. There was mercury in the ore that wasn't planned for. So they ended up with some issues, and that's not to be unexpected. It's mining is, I'm not going to say it's a crapshoot, but there's a lot of unknowns that have to be worked through. It's just the way things are. Let's see if I want to, I think I'll switch this to Mike. And
I'll try this one. This is a aerial picture. Let me back up a second. Last June, Chris here got a message from God or something, and decided that the only way we're ever going to really get a good look at what's going on with these mining tails reservoirs is to go up in an aircraft. And he brought a photojournalist and a news journalist, and he brought Aaron Brown, and on three flights. Yeah. This is one of the pictures. This is what things are supposed to look like. Knowing that June is the most verdant time of the year, we've got a lot of greenery in Minnesota. It's absolutely stunning up there. This is the Whiteface River. It doesn't have any or almost no mining constituents in it. No introduction of junk in there. In the next picture, you'll see something a little different. Oh, this is the introduction to me. Just to step into this, I was actually elected president of the local where I worked at the United Taconite out here. My family came from a canoeing, outdoorsy kind of a family, hunting, fishing, name it all. And I was lucky enough to have been to be the local union president when we had to negotiate a contract. So I have quite a bit of experience working with executives of the mining business and they're negotiating people. I know what drives them to what they do. I also have a deep fondness for the culture of the workforce in Northeastern Minnesota. Even though, I'm going to say this with tongue in cheek, they've been led astray. Okay. What I do want to say also is that the word extortion we use at the lead into this program today is when things go wrong for the mining companies. Say, for instance, the market starts to feel strange, or there is somebody like me eyeballing the companies and saying, listen, that's some bad stuff you guys are putting in the rivers. They say, oh, we'll just close down then. That's extortion. Anybody disagree?
Nope, that's what that is.
That's kind of what I thought. Okay, after retiring, I heard stories about, I retired in 2019. I started hearing about this copper nickel stuff coming, and it's been coming for a million years. My dad told of a donkey cart coming up his grandpa's driveway down by Fish Lake in Duluth. They had a drill rig, and they're telling all the old Polish farmers around the countryside they're $5 a hole. And my grandpa skedaddled them off the driveway, and on the way out of the driveway, they said, I hope you like living on an island, which he's trying to scare them into opening this up, and they were seeking copper nickel. That's just one part of this. But after retiring, I heard about copper nickel mining coming, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe anybody would have the audacity to put that much junk in the rivers. So I reached out to a chemist from St. Paul that I found out had been doing some water sampling in this area, and I don't know if I probably shouldn't use his name. Maybe I don't need to. A lot of people in here will know who he is.
Only if someone asks.
Yeah, if somebody asks. So. But so I recruited myself with him and went sampling Dunker River, Langley, Embarrass River, Spring Mine Creek, the waters around there, and Birch Lake. And I found out that we don't have any copper nickel mining here at this point, but we sure as hell do have sulfate poisoning, and it's really bad. The only standard in Minnesota for sulfates is the wild rice standard, and we're not even talking about wild rice standard in this program. That's something entirely different. What we're talking about is a healthcare issue, a serious human health impact issue with sulfates that methylate mercury. So the discovery for me was the sulfates are from taconite. Now there is a little unique twitch to this story that Dunka Pit has an underground body of what's called the
Virginia Formation?
Yeah, the Virginia Formation. It is pyrrhotite. It's very reactive, and it's extremely high sulfate. And about 1960 or so, they drilled and blasted through it and put about 50 million tons of that hot stuff over in a pile. Yeah,
I think it was an 80.
it was about 50 years ago. About 50 million tons are in a pile, and it started leaching. One of you guys might have a better chance of describing what that fishing organization did.
Yeah. Well, that's at the end. Let's come back to that as a treat.
But anyhow, I'll go on to the next slide here and see what we got. This is the route that Chris's aircraft took. Started in. Oops, I went the wrong way.
Look one more time.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's the plane they took.
There's the plane. Yeah.
We didn't crash.
Yeah.
But it's about 250-mile route he took and hit them all the way from Side Lake and Silver Bay, from Ely to Grand Rapids. Nailed them all.
Off the map was Silver Bay.
All the tailings. All the tailings.
Silver Bay is over on this side over here.
Yeah.
And this is Lake Superior, of course.
Yeah.
Just yell, Carol, if I get the microphone too far away. There's the route. This is the mine I used to work at, and what you're going to see, this just stresses the hell out of me. This is the St. Louis River, right here on the bottom. Highway 16 is down here across the bottom of the page, and it doesn't really show well. This is an old tailings reservoir that is not used anymore. It's done. This is a new one. This is a stage 2 or whatever they call it. And here you'll see these little creeks. There's that right there. That does not belong there. That dead foliage there does not belong there. That stuff that killed that foliage belongs inside there, inside the tailings reservoir. This is not this is terrible, but this is far from the worst. By the way, this stuff leaks right here into the St. Louis River. All right.
This is our meat of our thing here.
Do you want to take it from here? Anybody want to try from here? Because I can just run through these. Here's
Yeah.
what we want you to leave here with today.
Just run through these.
Minnesota does not enforce any mining regulation. None. Regulators in outstate can't be trusted to act independently and in the best interest of the public. They don't. They're most the ones that want to come here and do your boundary waters in. They're foreigners. They don't care about anything here.
Oh.
Sulfate, what?
Oh, there's a typo. That's supposed to be our state. Sorry, Gavin.
In our state, yeah. Sulfate pollution increases mercury methylation, and then we've got oops, I went the wrong way again. This little chart over here will show you all you need to know about mercury, the relationship between mercury and sulfates and the methylation and how it bioaccumulates up through the food chain into humans. Taconite mining has been the cause of a tremendous amount of sulfate and mercury pollution. Whether it goes up the stacks off the kilns at the processing plant, or leaks out of and we'll get to more of this too, or if it leaks out of the tailings dikes that hold the reservoirs back, or if it's pumped out of the pits. That's another place that sulfate enters our water, our public waters, at a really high rate. Claims made by potential copper nickel mine companies absolutely defy logic and betray any good faith attempt to operate reasonably. That I challenge anybody to challenge that statement. We've got plenty of information to stand behind with that one. Public health protections and social justice remain at risk in our state. Andy's digging out a book here that relates to copper nickel mining in Lake Smith, Wisconsin. It was a 9-year operation. It was called the Flambeau Mine. The book is almost 1,400 pages. 2 people. The lady is still, Laura is still alive. Roscoe passed away, but this book has exactly step by step what we're watching happen here in Minnesota right now. And
so
you want to try?
Yeah,
go with it.
This book is really hard to find. You're going to buy a copy on eBay. But if you search for The Buzzards Have Landed on the internet, it's free online. And I think you can read the whole thing as a PDF.
There's
something like that. So
there's 2 more versions of it too.
So anyway.
Okay, next slide, please.
we pass this around.
Ken? Okay, we've already touched that. Minnesota does not enforce any sulfate standards. The only one that we do have is the wild rice standard of 10 milligrams per liter. The Keetac plant, did we have another slide about that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
I'm going to move on here. This is a plant that I worked at. What you see down here is a tail, the slope of a tails reservoir. This is the entrance road and the railroad tracks that were coming in over here. This all here is, I don't know why it's all dead, but I do know this. When we did wash water coming out of the plant, it went into a ditch that went all over here and it wasn't regulated at all.
Nothing to see.
This particular plant serves the ore that comes from the mine, the Thunderbird mine next to Evelyn. And I don't know why, for some reason, Thunderbird mine was grandfathered in without the requirement to submit water samples out of their pit sumps, which is where such a large amount of this sulfate comes from. When you shatter the rock, the water and air contacts it and interacts and dissolves it dissolves the sulfates, puts them into fluid in there tons per year, tons per week, thousands of tons per year. I don't know what else I could tell you about.
Mercury is the next thing.
Yeah, well, here we go.
There we go.
Yeah. Minnesota.
So in addition to sulfates.
Do you want to take this, Andy?
No, all you.
You've got you got the skills.
So I said in the previous slide that Minnesota does not enforce any sulfate standards, but we are also the only place that does not enforce any mercury standards. So uniquely to the country is that that all of the taconite plants. Oh, sorry, I'm standing right your way. Terrible presentator. All the taconite plants on the Iron Range are not required to reduce their mercury emissions. Okay. As a result, we are seeing high levels of mercury. Mike, this study was commissioned in 2010.
10 or 11?
Yeah, but pretty quickly after they started finding some results, it was canceled. The study was ended. So this is currently the only data point we have to indicate that there is a human consequence to taconite mining as a result of mercury and sulfate that causes mercury methylation. Let's click to the next one. All right.
This is
What we're going to is that in addition to not enforcing any standards or any of our current laws or limits for pollution, Minnesota has no regulation specific to sulfide ore mining. And then, Mike, this is the little blurb about Key-Tech here at the bottom that we dealt with last year.
Hay Lake is a victim of Key-Tech's discharges. In the case of Key-Tech, a temporary variance was issued. I don't recall what year that was. It's been recently, probably about 2018, for an 800% increase in the allowable amount of sulfates for wild rice waters. The variance was to 79 milligrams per liter, and they exceeded that limit that they asked for on themselves 299 times. To step back a second, Andy talked about the study that was done in the Lake Superior, the St. Louis River Basin.
thank you.
It was a study of babies and the amount of mercury found in their bodies. I think the study was started in about 2011 or somewhere in there, and abruptly stopped in 2017 or 18, at which time they discovered that 10% of babies born in northeastern Minnesota have toxic levels of mercury in their system. The definition of toxic, the legal definition of toxic in this regard, is that it is the threshold level of learning disabilities and IQ issues and development problems. Some of the babies in there tested way over the allowable amount of mercury. And who knows in this room what the allowable amount of mercury? What's the doctor's recommended amount of mercury?
I know.
Anybody want to go for it?
Something like
Go ahead, Becky. Niet, exactly,
Oh,
zero.
it's bad? Oh,
That was a loaded
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
okay. Then we talked about
Heated.
tech,
Okay.
and then where's our next point here? Oh, now we're talking about.
Yeah, this is the mine I worked at again, and I'll use a little pointer here.
Another aerial photo.
What you're looking at here is you're looking at the top of a mine dike or a tailings dike. This is the inside of the tailings reservoir here, and these spots here are where pipes are actually dumping fines tailings into the body here, into the reservoir. Down there is a set of railroad tracks. That level is 165 feet lower than this level, just to give you a reference. What you see here is normal. This is going into the basin reservoir where it should be. That is not normal. That's been going on for many years. For a while, I drove tailings truck, and I put lots of this material out here myself, and it never occurred to me that it was toxic or that it was lethal.
Is there a truck in that picture?
I don't think there is, but
For
there,
scale? I don't think.
no, there isn't.
But these are big piles, though.
Yeah, that would be about a 10-yard pile right there.
Yeah.
This would be a bunch of them
That's the width of a dozer blade, right?
Each one of those little divots right there is about a 10-yard pile,
Yeah. That's a big.
120-ton pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, next picture. This is the same tails reservoir where the mine I worked at is dumping, pumping the tailings out of the plant and into the basin right there at that point.
That's the same stuff that's.
That's the fines tail. That's where that stuff goes. It does not stay there. Next picture, please.
Oh.
This one just about breaks my heart. This is the Silver Bay. Yeah, this is Silver Bay. This is the reserve mining. process the iron ore or the taconite down in, this is Lake Superior. They process it in Silver Bay and dump it in the lake for 25 years.
That's the black sand beach.
Yeah, black sand beach. Everybody thinks black sand beach is such a lovely thing. This is tailings, people. Black sand beach is definitely not a natural thing. This makes me ill right here. 67,000 tons per day for 25 years. There was a hero involved here, and his name was Judge Miles Lord. He died about 5 or 6 years ago. He put an end to this. He had to make them stop twice.
But
First
Mike,
time,
this is all legal.
yeah, this is legal. This is legally permitted and operated mining in Minnesota. All of it. We don't have copper nickel yet.
Well, so this is their debut of taconite.
Number 2.
Two regulators in our state can't be trusted to act independently and in the best interests of the public. Who might they be?
2 agencies.
The EPA official. Minnesota regulators want polymet critiques kept out of public comment to avoid press. That's what the Min Post. Star Tribune had another one.
Which we don't have.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
But yeah.
Okay, this is from, you were on the flight with
Yeah,
Aaron
so-
Brown.
This started out as a casual conversation on Facebook, and Aaron Brown was retiring. I said, well, I retired. This is interesting that we are comparing notes of our legacy. What's it mean? And I said, well, my legacy is buried underground where I worked, or in under a lake or someplace like that. And so we were chatting back and forth, and I said, well, you've written about the Iron Range for quite a while. Have you ever seen it from the air? And as a blasting engineer, we used to use the plane to clear for fly rock. Anyway, so I arranged to get the plane, and he wrote an article. You can go find it. But Chloe Johnson from the Tribune wanted to go, so I'll have to take everybody, right? So basically, it was like a guide to the Iron Range. I explained everything I knew for 5 hours. Let's see. This is what I want to
Go
show
back a bit.
back.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so we looked at tailings piles, and I wanted to,
Oh, we'll get back to that.
anyway, so there was a moment of conversion that I had, and we came flying around the corner of the pile at Forbes there, and there's this big brown streak coming out of the tailings basin. What the heck's that? There's a valve opener. Somebody turned it off, and I think everybody in the plane had the same visual reaction from seeing this beautiful carpet of North Minnesota, and then having some weird dead streak of stuff going right into the river. You can't miss it. And from that, this came. We got about 1,000 pictures of tailings piles, and they all do the same thing. So what's that mean? And
Can I make my point here about this is under the heading of that our regulators, which I didn't name, but I will, are the MPCA, the Minnesota Public
Pollution Control Agency.
Thank you, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the DNR. Together, they're both responsible for permitting. Each of them sort of handle different parts of the permitting process for mines. The slide before was referring to how the EPA under Biden discovered that the MPCA had been suppressing public comments that were critical of the polymet permit. Polymet had at this point been granted its permit by the DNR already. When the EPA found this, they rescinded the permit immediately. So the official in charge of the MPCA was not reprimanded, but was instead moved to the DNR. So in addition to that, the MPCA has been since 2015 headed by an appointed board of commissioners.
Commissioner.
Before that, it had been an agency that had been headed by a elected public board of commissioners. So there's some compromise there that we don't have an agency that can act independently without influence.
Allegiance to the whoever appointed them.
Right. So, let's click through and pick up our momentum.
You want to go past this?
No, I'm going to talk.
Uh-oh. Try this one.
I'm gonna talk about this as quickly as I can. This was an excerpt from an op. No, I'll skip this. We'll come back.
I think you just shake it.
Just click the next slide.
Next slide.
Oh, let's skip that one too. This is paragraph. Okay, number 3. Let's go to that one. Wait. Oh, I gotta read it. Sulfate pollution increases mercury methylation, which leads. Poison pitch. Okay, great. Next slide, please. This is a point I don't want to belabor. I think that a lot of people know that mercury is bad. But I like to use this little map that shows, it's an old map. It's from 1988. And it shows fish data in reference to, I like to think about it in latitude. And the perception is that we always have the best, most cleanest waters and lakes up in the northern part of the state. Obviously, it gets, the further from the city you go, the clearer and better it gets. And this map shows that this is not true. The red and orange squares are where the concentrations of mercury in this case, northern pike and walleye are highest. And if someone will point the laser there, oh, yeah, that's the Iron Range. And downstream of the Iron Range, there is where we see a lot of red dots. So the concentration of mercury in fish increases as you go north in our state. And I added this because I'm a science teacher and I have to make a point. We use 2 words interchangeably, bioaccumulation and biomagnification, and there is a difference. The difference in bioaccumulation is that this is when the contaminant levels increase in one species or in one individual as they get older. Like we've seen this with PCBs and killer whales. Biomagnification is where contaminant levels increase as species go up the food chain. So this is an example of like krill in the Arctic, but for our case, it would be algae, daphnia, dragonfly larvae, little minnows, little fish, even bigger fish, trophies, humans.
Yeah.
All right, next. 4. Taconite mining has been the case or cause of a tremendous amount of sulfate and mercury pollution. All right, you want to talk about this one, Dad?
We got an arrow.
Yeah, this is one of 1,000 pictures we took.
Oh, this is where we talk about tons per year.
Yeah, so there's all this information comes off the DNR and the MPCA website. So the numbers I'm citing here come from your government. So this is Mintag's tailings pond, and it's big.
11 miles around.
Yeah, well, when you're flying in a little plane, it takes a while, so we had to go get gas too. But the effect of this is shocking. It shouldn't look like this. For all the years of taconite mining, the people that represented it always said that everything's contained, there's nothing leaking and nothing to see here. And so the big revelation is that, well, duh, there's something going wrong here. I don't think anybody would like to have this happen, but none of these tailings basins are lined. They just, I think we got a picture of let's see. Here's the report that's laying around here, but basically they did a study for 2 years and did a sulfate balance in the 5 different taconite plants, and came up with some numbers that, because you have to subtract everything out, you can't measure something directly underneath the tailings dike. They came up with this number. Do I have it somewhere? Here's a picture of what we're talking about. The unlined tailings basins leak. And they have to leak because the tailings pile is a big pile of sand, and if you don't keep the top of it dry, it becomes unstable and falls apart. Nope.
So this is the critical.
That's the sulfate.
Yeah, well, it's that's the source of the, oh, there, hello. That's,
What'd you do?
false alarm. Go on.
Anyway,
Next.
so this is where the processed water from the plant intermingles with the aquifer. And
There's only one dam around here that has a ditch around it like this. Rest of them don't. One of our solutions that we'll get to in a minute covers that.
This one.
you want to talk about?
This is a good one for Andy.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah, this is,
Okay, this is my favorite thing. This is a paper I found. It was a study commissioned in 2022. And so it's like, look at all this junk. It's a mess. So next slide, please. It's commissioned by the DNR. This is my favorite graph that came out of this paper. What you're looking at here is an exaggerated elevation view of a cross section of the Iron Range. So that's west, this is east, and in the middle is Virginia.
what's that right there, Andy?
That's its tailings basin. And what this represents here is the permeable topsoil. So this entire area on the Iron Range is glacial till. It's all unsorted gravel, boulders, rock. And then in the west end of the range, I think it's like 500 feet thick of glacial till. So it's very permeable to water. And what the red arrows are representing is the distance that water travels underground. So,
Oh, it's a pointy thing.
pointy thing. So when you have you elevate like a basin, there's a lot of water pressure at the bottom of it. What was the height of the edge of the tailings basin that we were looking at?
165.
165 feet up. So water at the bottom has 165 feet of water depth pushing on it. And that's enough to force the water underground, and it flows out. And this little scale here in the corner says 14 miles. So roughly the longest distance is about 30 miles that water can flow through the Iron Range. The point of this is that when water leaks from underneath a tailings basin, like in the last slide where there was a little arrow at the bottom, this is the source of the water contaminant, where all the sulfates are coming from that are ending up in our rivers and lakes. It's not just surface runoff.
All right, next slide.
All right, I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Here, Chris.
This is my shocking moment of conversion. I think I already said that, but we're flying pretty low, so you can see everything really good. And thank God the plane held up.
Self-explanatory.
All right.
Oh, you wanted to go to the next one or that one?
Yeah.
Oh.
So here's LTV that was going to be polymit site. And this is the edge of the tailings pond. And in the horizon in the background, there is
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed River. And so somewhere about below K, I think it is where you're not supposed to eat fish. So what happens is the sulfate feeds the bacteria like fertilizer, right? So you fertilize your lawn, it fertilizes the bacteria that methylizes the elemental mercury into organic mercury that's very poisonous. So I went through all the reports that I could find about the tailings in that report, and the end effect of that is about 12,900 tons a year. The mine discharge pipes are reported in the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, NPDES. All these numbers are recorded on the MPCA website. And I went through meticulously, like a diligent engineer built a spreadsheet, added up all this stuff, and it comes out to about the same, about 12,900
Tons of,
tons per year of
Of-
sulfates. So it's not like there's nothing here to, these are the government numbers, right? So we have to assume they're all 100% okie dokie, but that doesn't include some of the facilities that don't report, like Thunderbird Mine.
Pitch some.
They have a grandfathered administrative permit they don't have to report sulfates. And I don't think North Shore down at Silver Bay has to report it either. So, because their tailings base at milepost 7 leaks like everybody else's.
the point of this is that this is what the copper nickel.
Yeah, so the point of this is that this is the result of self-regulation. Basically, none of the tailings, back up. None of the basins have a liner under them. So what you see coming out here is partial of the entire flow. That's supposed to be shocking. And
But that's the rules that copper
right,
nickel
I
wants.
built these things, right? So what's that?
This is the rules that copper nickel wants.
Oh yeah, well, there's a fist fight between the copper nickel miners that want to get the same environmental regulations and enforcement as the taconite miners. This would be a really big problem. I can just say that. I wanted to highlight that copper nickel mining isn't new. Here's a regional study that was part of a moratorium that was put on mining and prospecting. I think they kept prospecting, but anyway, in the 79 regional study, it's quite interesting to learn more about what they looked at. And one of the things that one item was that they needed to understand the effects of taconite pollution, sulfates, before they could make a reasonable scientific understanding of the impact of copper nickel mining. It included 3 possible sites for smelters. Nobody wants to haul concentrate around. They want to haul the real McCoy, the solid material. So in this report is some potential sites for smelters. I think everybody in Ely wants a smelter, right? Kind of gives you a guiding light to if you're lost in a canoe, right? This is serious. We're turning Minnesota into an industrial site that I think we're not ready for.
Well, the point of this is that copper. Okay.
The point of highlighting this in this heading of copper nickel mining companies are making ridiculous claims is that they are not saying that we need to have a smelter. They're going to claim that we can ship this in another state.
Right.
And there's no way that you could actually do that at cost. And so ultimately and likely the next step would be, if there was a permitted mine operating, is they're going to ask for a smelter.
Well, as we understand how mining works, it's the same way as permitting works. So the idea is that you permit a limited sized, limited scope operation. It's easier to get a permit. Plus everybody understands what you're going to do. The next step is to get an amended permit to begin to expand, because you drilled some more holes and you found ore, and let's keep going, right? So that's me, that's the mining guy. So the end result is that, well, it's far more economic, and besides we can hire about 300 more people to run a smelter. And where would you like to put it?
Next.
Yeah. So here's the where would you like to put it already happening. So And maybe some people already know this, but this is Peter Mitchell Pit. And they got a permit in 2014 to expand because they've got to strip some more material out of the way and keep mining because they've got lots and lots of taconite ore. So in the very top of the Blavic Iron Formation is a layer called the Virginia Formation that has lots of iron pyrite. And then the very bottom of this formation has pyrrhotite in it. So they made a deal with the DNR to build a confined sarcophagus. Basically, that's what this is. That confines that material so that the weather won't get to it. So if it rains, there's a liner on the top of this vial that will keep the weather off of it and hopefully not cause pollution. But this dump, when it does rain and there is water in the pit, it's pumped into the Duncan River.
Langley, Dunca,
Right.
some makes it, well, it goes to Birch Lake.
Right, so it goes into the boundary waters.
We come with solutions too, by the way. One of our final slides has
So-
solutions in it.
I added up the sulfate. This is 15 years worth of data. So it's not decreasing. I'll just say that.
They cook faster.
Here's Duncan River. There's 50 million tons of the little complex gabbro on there, and it's been leaking into the lake for since the 60s. And there's the diagram, all the dumps. You can go visit. Errol, you talked about this.
No, I'll skip this.
Skip it.
Yeah.
So, this is the last point that I'd like to make, is that what we've talked about so far has been specific about the effects of
Putting. I lost my battery.
Take this.
You have to shake it.
it's my fault. I used too much current on. Okay, this is about public health in our state because raise your hand if you've been fishing this year. I haven't, but yeah, okay. I don't think that we're being told how accurately those fish are toxic. And everything that we've talked about so far has been a result of taconite mining and a failure to regulate that. And this is all our present conditions before we're talking about copper nickel, which is just pure sulfate ore, right? So this issue about saving the boundary waters, about protecting wild rice is complex. And to me, this is a social justice issue in that we've made promises through treaties to groups of people that they can, you're allowed to live in this area and you can get all of your calories and your needs, all your protein to feed your family from the land. And then at the same time, our state does things that poison that. And that's a social justice issue. That's what I feel like this is the most important part to highlight in our presentation.
Let's see what else we got.
This is one of the last slides we have. So here's our take-home messages. We'll read them together. Yeah. So we're not enforcing any sulfide mining standards. We're talking about taconite and how it's been unregulated. Sulfate pollution is specifically what the phenomenon is that sulfate is a cause of mercury methylation. And the impact to the boundary waters are only part of this issue. As I just said, there are social justice and public health impacts also. I think the last one says the end. Oh, Mike, here.
Yeah. We do come with some elemental and some very realistic solutions. Ditching and pump back. The one frame you saw with the ditch at the toe of the tails reservoir, that's a possibility. That has to be looked into. In-process hydrated lime treatment, simple as could be. Farmers use this stuff all the time. It creates an ionic bond inside the plant before the water heads out into the tails reservoir. And the best one of all, and this is what we absolutely have to have before any sulfur or copper nickel mining is commenced, is 100% containment with dual liners with underleak detection. Nothing else is gonna satisfy us. I don't even wanna see that personally, but not until we get the taconite tailing issue cleaned up.
Like, this is the industry standard worldwide.
Right. This country is the only one that I'm aware of that doesn't do that.
This state,
In the red lettering, it might be kind of hard to read, says there may be many other solutions to this disaster in the making. When many minds are directed to properly solving a problem, the best results are more probable. What's the saying? And expect the,
oh,
no,
what's it? Quick, come up with it off the top of your head.
embrace the
Embrace the
improbable.
improbable.
We've heard people say this for years, that copper nickel's coming. Embrace the improbable.